Namaste and welcome to our deep dive into the UPSC news analysis for the 4th of May, 2025. Today, we're going to unpack some really significant happenings. We'll break down the essential concepts, drill down into what matters for your mains preparation, and we're looking at all of this with a distinctly Indian perspective. Okay, let's get into it.
Yes, quite a few important developments today. It's fascinating how many of these issues connect, actually.
Absolutely. And we're starting with something potentially major in our region, the increasing tensions between India and Pakistan. Sources are pointing to India's decision to cut off trade, postal, and even port links with Pakistan.
That's right. And as you know, the relationship, well, it's got a long, complex history, always issues like terrorism, Kashmir.
Exactly. And this recent move, it wasn't exactly out of the blue, was it?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
If you look at the immediate triggers, Pakistan just tested its Abdali missile. That's a short-range ballistic missile.
Nuclear capable, I believe, around 450-kilometer range.
Precisely. And then tragically, there was the Pahalgam terror attack. April 22nd, 26 lives lost.
Horrific. So these seem to be the catalyst for India's reaction.
It certainly looks that way. A very strong reaction to it.
Right. The actions have been quite broad. The DGFT, Directorate General of Foreign Trade, they've banned all imports from Pakistan.
Citing national security under the Foreign Trade Act.
Yes, and the Department of Posts. Stopped all inbound mail and parcels.
That's significant.
Then there are port restrictions, basically closing Indian ports to Pakistani-flagged ships.
Though they mentioned case-by-case exceptions, I think.
They did. And importantly, India revoked 14 visa categories for Pakistani nationals.
Not all visas.
No, long-term visas, LTVs, and official or diplomatic ones are still valid. We also saw the J&K chief minister meeting with the prime minister afterwards. Really underscores the gravity.
These are very significant steps. Now, for you preparing for mains, think about the relevance. First, obviously, cross-border terrorism, a continuous challenge for internal security, foreign policy.
And India's diplomatic position. It's a tricky balance, responding strongly while maintaining international standing.
Exactly, a real dilemma. And this escalation, it's almost certainly going to impact any future peace process, any talks.
Historically, these things can also serve domestic political aims on both sides, right? Makes de-escalation harder.
True. This might signal a firmer Indian stance now. Maybe dialogue depends on Pakistan taking, demonstrable action against terror groups.
And the practical impacts, we can't forget those.
No. Economically. Formal trade isn't huge, but informal trade, that takes a hit. Plus, border economies, Punjab, J&K, they rely on that cross-border movement.
From a polity and governance angle, it shows the state taking a strong stance on sovereignty, perceived threats.
Yes. And there are ethical points, too. Suspending postal links. That affects humanitarian channels, people-to-people ties.
So looking ahead, what's the way forward?
Well, it likely involves strategic patience combined with credible deterrence. That seems key. Maybe keeping some people-to-people channels open with proper oversight could be valuable long-term.
And border infrastructure. Intelligence.
Constant necessity. Strengthening those. Plus, ongoing global diplomacy on state-sponsored terror. And fundamentally, continuing to address the root causes of issues within J&K. That's vital for stability.
Okay, some quick prelims pointers from this for you. Abdali missile details range, nuclear capability, the DGFT's role in trade regulation, especially using national security grounds, what LTV means long-term visa, the significance of the Wagah border, and the specifics of that April 2025 Pahalgam attack.
Right. Now, moving from that tense international picture to a truly unfortunate event within India, the Goa stampede at the Lirai Jatra in Shirgaon.
Yes, terrible news. For context, the stampede is that sudden, uncontrolled rush of a crowd, often panic-driven.
And large religious gatherings in India, while culturally vital, sadly carry this risk. We've seen similar tragedies before. Often the reports point to similar failures planning, safety enforcement.
A comparative look at successful crowd management elsewhere, perhaps, could offer lessons.
Definitely. But this time, it was at the Sri Larai Devi Temple in North Goa's Bikaling Taluka during the annual Jatra.
The reports say early Saturday morning. 7 deaths, around 80 injured. Just awful.
Yes. And it's a major fair. Attracts devotees from Goa, Maharashtra, Karnataka. Shows the scale.
The government's immediate response.
Well, the CM visited the site, the injured. The 108 ambulance system was deployed. That's Goa's emergency medical response. Crucially, a magisterial inquiry has been ordered, headed by the Revenue Secretary, Sandeep Jacques.
And key officials transferred, collector, SP.
Yes, the collector, SP, DSP, PI. Seems like a move to ensure impartiality in the investigation.
Thinking about Maine's relevance, this screams crowd management failure, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Despite predictable crowds, it seems control measures were lacking. It also points to potential infrastructure gaps, barricading, exits, managing slopes. A surge on a slope is especially dangerous.
And administrative accountability. Was there proactive risk assessment for such a huge event?
Key questions. The social impact is immense loss of life, loss of trust. Governance-wise, it highlights the need for much stronger regulatory frameworks for these large gatherings.
Ethically, too. Moral responsibility, preparedness.
Exactly. So, the way forward. It seems clear we need robust standard operating procedures, SOPs, specifically for large religious events, covering crowd control, slope safety, medical services, everything.
Technology could help. Drones, CCTV, maybe AI for predicting crowd flow.
Potentially invaluable. Plus, training for police and volunteers, crowd psychology, emergency response, and mandatory pre-event risk assessments. Clear accountability if things go wrong.
Prelims pointers here. Location of Sri Larai Devi Temple, Shirgo, North Goa. Role of 108 ambulances. What SOP stands for. Purpose of a magisterial inquiry. And maybe being aware of past crowd disasters in India for context.
Okay, let's shift focus now. From a tragic incident to a long-running challenge. Interstate water sharing. The Krishna water dispute.
Right. The Krishna River flows through Karnataka, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana.
4 riparian states. And disputes like these fall under the Interstate River Water Disputes Act 1956. Tribunals are formed.
In this case, it's the Krishna Water Disputes Tribunal II, KWDT2, formed back in 2004, chaired by Justice Brajesh Kumar.
Yes, set up mainly after Andhra Pradesh was bifurcated. And a key piece here is Karnataka's Upper Krishna Project, UKP3, a major irrigation project.
So what's the latest news?
Karnataka's CM held a meeting to firm up their stance before a big meeting of irrigation ministers from all 4 states. That's set for May 7th.
And the core issue is?
Karnataka's push for the Gazette notification of the KWDT2 award. The final verdict came way back in 2013, but it's still not officially notified by the center.
Still not notified after all this time? Why is that so critical for Karnataka?
Because the delay blocks them from using 130 TMT of water allocated under UKP3. That's hitting farmers hard in North Karnataka.
Okay, so the key players in this upcoming meeting are the Union Jal Shakti Minister, C.R. Patil.
Yes, he's convening it. Karnataka's Irrigation Minister, D.K. Shivakumar, will be there. And Justice Brajesh Kumar's role as tribunal chair remains central to understanding the award.
It's quite a timeline. Tribunal started work 2007, verdict 2013. Karnataka's been petitioning since then.
Repeatedly, yes,
Yeah.
urging notification. Now, after this May 7th meeting, they're planning an all-party meeting in Karnataka, too, trying to build consensus. They're also prepping their legal and administrative strategies.
And the constitutional basis for all this is Article 262 and the ISRWD Act.
Correct. Article 262 allows for adjudication. The Act empowers tribunals and central notification. The Supreme Court has also ruled that states can't just implement awards unilaterally before central notification.
So, Maine's implications. The delay itself raises questions about the dispute resolution mechanism, doesn't it?
Big time. And center-state coordination gaps. Farmer stress is a clear economic and social consequence.
Politically, it fuels interstate friction. Andhra, Telangana also have stakes.
And prolonged delays erode trust in the tribunals themselves, their finality.
What's the potential way forward then?
Well, the center needs to expedite the notification, ideally with clear timelines built into the process after future verdicts. Maybe strengthen the ISRWD Act, statutory timelines, constitutional amendments even, for enforceability.
And in the short term?
Transparent negotiations. Use that May 7th meeting for consensus building, not confrontation. And maybe Karnataka needs alternative irrigation support for farmers in the meantime.
Prelims focus. The 4 Krishna basins states Karnataka, Maharashtra, AP, Telangana. UKP third, allocation 130 TMCFP for Karnataka. KWDTT chair, Justice Brajesh Kumar, and status. Verdict 2013, unnotified. And the purpose of Article 262 and the ISRWD Act.
Right. Our next topic bridges law and politics. The conviction of BJP MLA Kanwarlal Meena in Rajasthan.
And the debate around his disqualification. Let's set the scene. The Representation of the People Act, 1951, the RPA.
Key law for elections, disqualification, Section 8.3 is crucial here.
That's the one about a sentence of 2 years or more leading to disqualification from the date of conviction.
Precisely. And this whole section, especially 8.3, has seen a lot of debate, judicial interpretation, balancing clean politics versus legislators' rights.
Until the Lily Thomas case clarified things.
Yes, Lily Thomas v. Union of India, 2013. The Supreme Court ruled convicted legislators lose their seat immediately upon conviction unless it's stayed by a higher court. No grace period.
Okay. And Kanwar Lamina. He represents the Anta constituency in Baran district, Rajasthan.
Correct. The news is the Rajasthan High Court just upheld his 2020 conviction.
And the conviction was for?
An incident way back in 2005. Apparently threatened an SDM with a revolver, damaged government property during an election dispute.
Initially acquitted, but then convicted by the Sessions Court in 2020.
Yes, sentenced to 3 years for threatening a public servant, 2 years for other charges, running concurrently.
So with the High Court upholding the sentence of over 2 years, the Congress Party in Rajasthan is demanding immediate disqualification.
Exactly. PCC President Govind Singh Dotasra, leader of opposition Tika Ramjalai. They're citing the RPA and the Lily Thomas judgment.
Let's revisit the legal framework. Section 8.3 is clear. Lily Thomas makes it immediate, barring a stay. What's the Election Commission's role?
Once informed of such a conviction, and if it's not stayed, the EC issues the formal disqualification notification.
Interestingly, sources don't mention a response yet from the BJP or the Speaker's office on this.
Not mentioned, no. So for mains prep, this case really highlights the ongoing issue of criminalization of politics.
And delayed justice. 2005 incident, conviction upheld 2025.
Absolutely. And any delay in implementing disqualification erodes public faith. Politically, this will likely raise temperatures in Rajasthan. Potential by-election, too.
Legally, it tests the RPA and the SC rulings. Ethically, it's about party accountability and candidate selection.
Yes. So, potential way forward. Ideally, immediate action by the Speaker following the law. The SC's call for fast-track courts for politicians needs rigorous implementation. Cases decided within a year was the aim.
Parties need to be more accountable, too, right? SC made observations on fielding candidates with criminal records in 2020.
They did. Stronger pre-candidacy screening, maybe rejecting nominations if charges are framed for heinous crimes. And public awareness is key. Voters need to reject candidates with criminal backgrounds.
Quick prelims pointers. Section 8.3, RPA 1951, the core provision. Lily Thomas case significance, immediate disqualification. And constituency location, Baran, Rajasthan. And Mina's conviction details the charges, the sentence length.
Okay. Shifting gears now to social justice and affirmative action. To Joshua Yadav's push for expanded reservations.
This follows the center's decision to include caste enumeration in the next census. Just for background, a caste census aims to gather detailed data to inform policies on equity representation. Last comprehensive data was 1931.
And key historical marker is the Mandel Commission, 1980. Recommended 27% reservation for OBCs in government jobs, education. Implemented from 1990.
Two other concepts here. Delimitation redrawing constituency boundaries based on census data, and the demand for private sector reservation extending quotas beyond government jobs.
So the news. Joshua Yadav wrote to the PM, welcoming the caste census decision, but also making some big demands.
Like reservation in the judiciary and the private sector.
Yes. Also, proportional representation of politics based on caste data, full Mandel implementation, reservation in government contracts, and caste-based delimitation.
Quite a list. The timing seems strategic right after the census announcement.
Seems so. He's basing it largely on Bihar's 2023 caste survey findings. That survey showed OBC/IBCs making up 63% of Bihar's population, but he argues they're underrepresented in power structures.
Let's look at the existing reservation framework. Public sector quotas are 27% OBC, 15% SC, 7.5% ST, but capped at 50% overall by the Supreme Court's Indrasani judgment, 1992.
Correct. And no mandated private sector reservation currently, though some firms have voluntary policies. The constitutional basis is Articles 15.4 and 16.4, special provisions for socially and educationally backward classes.
The Indrasani case also clarified things like reservations and promotions, right? And really cemented that 50% cap.
It did, unless extraordinary circumstances could be proven. So Yadav's demands raise several crucial mains issues. Representation gaps for marginalized groups remain a concern.
The 50% cap is a major legal hurdle for expanding quotas based on new data.
Definitely. And caste-based delimitation, very sensitive. Could deepen identity politics, face legal challenges.
Politically, empowering OBC/EBCs could be very significant. Socially, data-driven caste policy has huge implications.
Economically, private sector reservations would impact hiring, industry. And balancing merit and representation of the judiciary is a complex, ongoing debate.
So, possible ways forward.
Maybe an expert panel to analyze the census data, and recommend policy changes carefully. For the judiciary, perhaps a framework for inclusion that respects independence. If CAS is used for delimitation, very clear, sensitive guidelines needed, maybe SE oversight.
Dialogue on private sector inclusion involving all stakeholders.
Crucial. And the 50% cap issue might need legal clarity, maybe via constitutional amendment or defining exceptions transparently.
Prelims takeaways. Mandel Commission, key recommendations, implementation year, 1990. Indrasani case, 1992. Significance, 50% cap. Caste census data status, last comprehensive, 1931. SECCC 2011 data wasn't fully published. Legal basis for delimitation articles 82 and 170. Delimitation Commission.
Good points. Now let's turn to a positive development in maritime infrastructure. Kolkata Port Syama Prasad Mukherjee Port, SMPK.
They've achieved night navigation for cargo vessels. That's big for a riverine port like Kolkata, right? On the Hooghly.
Exactly. Riverine ports face unique challenges: sedimentation, narrow channels, tides. Night navigation has been limited on that tough stretch from Bajbaj to the Bay of Bengal.
Due to safety risks, narrow channels, meandering river.
Precisely. Reduced visibility, tides, potential obstructions. But now, SMDK has launched night navigation on that upper stretch. Enables 24-hour operations.
That's a game changer. The first trial was successful. A container ship, MV Sinarpanida.
Yes, early Saturday morning. Carried 8,000 metric tons. Successfully transited using the new system.
This fits well with government initiatives like Sagarmala, doesn't it? Modernizing ports, connectivity.
Absolutely. And the push for digital port infrastructure advanced navigation systems are key for night ops. PPP models might have helped with tech upgrades, plus promoting inland waterways, training marine pilots. It all connects.
For Mains, this highlights the limitations of riverine ports, silt, narrow channels, tides, but also the risks of night navigation, visibility, debris, emphasizes need for skilled pilots. Good data.
And it shows the importance of infrastructure investment. The economic benefits could be substantial: higher port throughput, less waiting time, better trade efficiency.
Regionally, it boosts Kolkata as a trade hub for the east, northeast, even neighbors like Bangladesh, Bhutan.
And potentially environmental benefits too: less fuel burned by idling ships.
Looking ahead, expand night navigation further upstream.
Potential for that: deploying more advanced tech AI, sonar, satellite coordination, continuous skill development for pilots and staff, collaboration with the Inland Waterways Authority, IWAI, and monitoring the ecological impact of more traffic.
Prelims points. SMTK, full name, significance, oldest major port. First vessel name, MV Sinarpanida. Hooghly River characteristics, Ganga distributary title, Silti. Sagarmala project aims, Budge location importance near Kolkata.
Okay. Next, a major defense development. The Rafale deal for the Indian Navy.
Rafale, the naval version of the Rafale jet, designed for carrier operations.
Yes, built for tough landings, launches. India has two carriers now, INS Vikramaditya and the indigenous INS Vikrant. Both use the Stobar system short takeoff, but arrested recovery. Ski jump for launch, wires for landing.
Different from Kato Bar, which uses catapults, also relevant is the carrier lift, the elevator for planes.
Right. Stobar typically means lighter takeoffs. Kato Bar allows heavier launches.
And the news is the deal is finalized. 64,000 crore for 26 Rafale M jets.
That's the figure. 22 single-seaters, 4 twin-seaters. Signed April 28, 2025. Deliveries Q2 2028 to end of 2030.
And they'll operate from both carriers, replacing the MiG-29Ks.
That's the plan, replacing the aging mixed fleet.
Some modifications needed on the carriers, though. Lifts, ski jump configuration.
Minor ones, yes. Crew training in France and India. And interesting budget management here. They apparently proponed the deal for 156 light combat helicopters, LCH, from HAL, around 62,700 crore, to use up funds from the previous fiscal year and prioritize this Rafale deal.
Strategic budgeting. The Rafale deal itself was an intergovernmental agreement, IGA.
Yes, direct government to government, usually faster, more transparent. It also includes performance-based logistics, PBL, for 5 years.
PBL ensures service availability, maintenance support?
Correct, so mains implications. India still relying on foreign fighters for carriers highlights the gap in indigenous development, like the TEDBF project delays.
And the Rafale M being primarily for Kato Bar systems, while we use Stobar, potential limitations.
Could be regarding payload or might need aircraft adjustments. It also shows the balancing act, budget flexibility versus defense readiness.
Strategically, though, a big boost for naval aviation, maritime surveillance, Indo-Pacific presence.
Huge boost. Operationally, it means both carriers can operate at full fighter strength simultaneously. Important for two-front scenarios.
Industrially, Good for HAL with the LCH deal, but still importing high-value jets shows limitations in domestic naval fighter development.
True. Way forward. Fast-track the indigenous TED BBF. Urgently. Maybe look at modernizing STOBAR, or future options like CATOBAR. Enhance domestic MRO for Rafale M.
Integrated training facilities. Reviewing maritime doctrine.
All sensible steps. Prelims points, Rafale M key carrier features, INS VCRANT status. And
Jump bar explanation. Ski jump launched. Arrested recovery. PBL meaning HALCH deal details. 156 helos, 62,700 CR.
Okay, one more deep dive today. Jammu and Kashmir, focusing on the community response after the Pahalgam attack. The revival of Kashmiria.
Kashmiria, that sociocultural ethos of harmony, tolerance, syncretism in the valley.
Exactly. Peaceful coexistence, blending Sufi Islam with Hindu, Buddhist influences. Pahalgam itself is a key tourist spot, also important for the Amarnath Yatra. Decades of terrorism have deeply impacted the region's social fabric, economy, tourism.
And syncretism here means that blending of different beliefs and practices.
Yes. That tragic attack on April 22nd, killing 25 tourists and a local, brought challenges back into focus. But the heartening part is the community response. People actively coming together to restore peace, reaffirm Kashmiriyat.
How so? What actions are being taken?
Locals, entrepreneurs, social groups, offering free services, meals, lodging, tours to affected tourists, candlelight vigils, posters condemning terror, using social media extensively for peace campaigns, showcasing Kashmir's welcome.
And tourists responding positively?
Reportedly, yes. The government's also involved J&K tourism boosting campaigns, enhancing security, promoting Kashmiri culture through festivals, and central schemes like the PMDP for J&K help boost tourism infra, engage youth.
For Mayans, this grassroots movement is very relevant. It highlights the gap between perception, conflict zone, and the reality of locals wanting peace.
Definitely. Shows the economic dependency on tourism, too. And the psychological impact of terror makes these healing efforts vital. Socially, it strengthens communal bonds. Culturally, it's a counter-narrative to extremism. Ethically, it shows civil society's resilience.
Potential way forward. Promote Kashmiriyat values nationally, globally.
Yes, with government support. Community policing, confidence-building measures to restore trust, infrastructure boost in tourist hubs, resilient tourism models, homestays, ecotourism, off-season travel, maybe insurance guarantees.
And mental health support for affected communities.
Crucial for long-term healing. Prelims focus. Kashmiriyat definition. Syncretic ethos. Major J&K tourist spots. Dal Lake, Pahalgam. Pahalgam attack basics. April 2025 casualties. Social media's role in tourism revival. PMDP purpose for J&K.
All right, nearly there. One final area. The performance of public R&D units in India. A recent report analyzed innovation.
Right. Public R&D units are government-funded labs under various ministries. Their goal is science tech development supporting national missions. The report used innovation excellence indicators to see how well research translates into actual innovation. Note, it excluded defense, atomic energy, space, and academic institutions, focused on civilian labs.
Who produced the report?
Principal Scientific Advisor's Office, CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, and CTIR, Center for Technology, Innovation, and Economic Research, assessed 244 labs, looked at their focus, curiosity-driven science versus industry-aligned, practical innovation.
What were the key findings?
Some concerning trends. Only 25% offer incubation facilities, just 16% support deep tech startups, international industry collaboration, only 15% facility sharing with outsiders, 50%
alignment with national missions.
About 35% with Skill India, 30% Swachh Bharat, roughly 50% with Make in India. Also noted, young researchers under 35 were 58% of staff in 2022-23. But women's participation is stagnant, and a shift from permanent to contractual staff.
Any positives? Budget.
Yes, for the 155 labs providing data, the R&D budget increased from around 9,900 crore in 2017-18 to over 13,100 crore in 2022-23.
Government interventions in this space include Make in India, Skill India, and plan reforms.
Yes, like the Anusanthan National Research Foundation, NRF, integrate funding, and the existing Abel Innovation Mission, AA. The report recommended labs align with Viksit Bharat 2047 goals, focus on critical tech, boost collaboration, set up Section 8 companies for startups, and open up infrastructure.
Section 8 company is a nonprofit entity, right?
Correct. Under the Companies Act 2013, so mains relevance. Low translation of R&D to innovation is a major challenge. Limited support for startups, especially deep tech, HR imbalances, contractualization, stagnant female participation.
Jobs working in silos, lack of collaboration.
Big issues. Hinders the ecosystem. Economically limits contribution to industrial growth. Socially, miss opportunities to solve public challenges. Demographically, underutilizing young talent and women.
Potential way forward. Mandate innovation KPIs for labs.
Yep.
Linked to incubation, patents, tech transfer.
Could work. Strengthen lab industry academia, links, formalize collaboration, incentives. Open science platforms share resources, data with startups, universities. Diversify HR, encourage women. Convert contractual roles where appropriate.
And institutional support via those Section 8 companies. Embedded innovation hubs.
Seems like a practical step to engage the startup ecosystem better. Prelims points, CTI error full form, Section 8 company definition, Viksit Bharat 2047 vision, Principal Scientific Advisor's Office role, Anusandhan NRF purpose.
Okay, our final topic today. A concerning global trend. The rise in vaccine-preventable diseases, VPDs.
Yes, VPDs are illnesses like measles, polio, diphtheria, controllable or eradicable via immunization. Routine immunization is the scheduled vaccination for kids, pregnant women. IA 2030 is the global strategy for equitable vaccine access.
And in India, we have the Universal Immunization Program, UIP, our major public health program.
The news is WHO, UNICEF, Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, are raising alarms. A global resurgence of VPDs due to missed immunizations, disrupted systems worldwide.
This warning follows a WHO survey and comes before Gavi's pledging summit in June 2025.
That's right. Reason cited. Funding cuts, misinformation leading to vaccine hesitancy, COVID disruptions, population growth, conflict zones.
Key players are WHO, UNICEF, Gavi, and national governments, including India.
Global initiatives trying to tackle this include the Big Catch-Up Initiative from 2023, reaching kids missed during the pandemic. Gavi's summit aims for $9 billion to vaccinate 500 million kids from 2026-2030, and the broader IA 2030 strategy.
Here in India, the UIP targets millions annually. Around 26 million children, 34 million pregnant women. Covers measles, rubella, polio, tetanus, rotavirus, pneumococcal disease, etc.
And India has had major successes. Polio-free certification in 2014, maternal neonatal tetanus elimination in 2015, introduced newer vaccines too.
The NFHS 5 data, 2019-21, showed full immunization coverage at 76.1%, meaning nearly 1 in 4 kids still missing out.
That's the gap we still need to close.
Right.
So misinformation is a huge barrier. Declining disease surveillance makes outbreak response harder.
The consequences are health, economic, equity-related, and a risk of reversing India's hard-won progress.
Exactly. And the WHO estimates a huge return on vaccine investment, about $54 for every $1 spent.
So the way forward: sustain and increase funding globally and nationally. Gavi's goal is vital.
Combat misinformation with science-based, community-led campaigns. Intensify catch-up campaigns like the Big Catch-Up.
Strengthen disease surveillance, real-time tracking, rapid response.
And in India, renewed focus on boosting coverage, especially in underperforming districts. Leverage digital tools, maybe like Co-Win, for UIP tracking and outreach.
Prelims points. Big catch-up campaign details. Post-pandemic catch-up. India's full immunization coverage. NFHS 5, 76.1%. Gavi's role. Scope of India's UIP. And that WHO ROI estimate for vaccines, $54 per $1.
That covers the key areas for today. A lot to digest.
Indeed. That concludes our deep dive for May 4th, 2025. We've unpacked quite a range: geopolitics, tragedies, policy shifts, health trends. We hope this analysis gives you clearer understanding and valuable insights for your preparation. Remember to subscribe for daily updates, and please drop a comment to share your thoughts. You can also download the audio or transcript for revision. Jai Hind.